Welcome to this month's project video. This is the design video and it's for the drink tote. So let's get started. So the first thing we need to do is create a new file. Our dimensions are 19 by 10 by a ½ inch thick, double-sided. Material surface is where our 0 is going to be. The XY date and position is in the bottom left-hand corner. Flip over on the long edge. Modeling resolution is the fastest. We say OK. Now, the way I go about designing things is, the first thing I do is a lot of times just look up something that is pleasing to me. So what I'll do is I'll go out on the internet and find some video or find some pictures of something that I like. So the one that I have is this image right here. I open it up and I kind of look at it and I go, okay, I kind of want to design it like this, but not exactly like it. There's some other things that I would like to refine from it. So what I'll do is I'll look at it and say, what kind of basic shapes do I have? Well, the first thing that I have is if you look here, this is a rectangle. This is basically a circle up here, and it's basically two arcs right here fitting the two together. So then I figure out, well, how tall do I want this thing to be? So I'll make a square here, and I've already know what I want it to be, so it's going to be 10.5 by 6.5. Or I'm sorry, 10.5 by 5.5. So that's the basic size of the rectangle that I'm looking at. Now I also look at this and go, this is about halfway up. So I'll go and make myself come over here, grab me a line, and I will bring it a little bit more than halfway up. So this is going to be where my transition goes into my curves. The next thing is this looks like basically a circle. So I'll go to the circle piece. 3-inch diameter seems to work pretty good. And say close. And what I will do is make that go against this inside edge like that, and I will make it go in the middle. So this is in the middle of this box on the inside edge. So now I got my kind of rounded off top. Now I want to take an arc from this point to this point over here. So I'll go to the draw an arc. I will come here and come to about right here and make it as pleasant as I can, which is about right there. Okay, I will take that arc and I will mirror it to this side. So I will go to the mirror. I'm going to flip it horizontally, or vertically, I'm sorry. And you notice that it did it vertical to the job center. And the job center happens to be from here to here. Well, I can click here. Now that becomes my job center. If I flip it, it's still, oh, it goes to the center of my job. Sorry. It's back up here. The next thing I want to do after I've made my circle is I want to make this whole thing in the center. And it just makes my life easier later on. So I'm going to center the whole thing. Now this is in the center of my job. Now I will make my arc. Got to bring my line over, I'm sorry. Bring my line over to about here. Okay, the next thing I want to do is make my arc from this point to my circle. Make it pleasant. I like that arc there. Now the next thing I want to do is bring this arc over to here, and that's a mirrored function. So I want to mirror it. I want to flip it vertically about the job center. That's the reason why we put it in the center of the job, so that when we do this, voila, it's over there where we want it to be. Now, just the next thing I have to do now is just trim it out. So we can trim this circle out of here, come up here and trim this off. Come down here and do the same. And then trim off this square, trim off this point, and now I have the side of my drink tote. So that's part one that I'm done with. Okay, now the next thing I want to do is make the other parts. Well, I'm going to kind of speed it up here a little bit and open up a file that I've already got done. And here's the file that I've already done. As you can see, I've got a lot of parts. Now, the way I went about making all the parts is that I made this diagram. This diagram has the dimensions of the base and the side. Okay, the bottom and the side. You'll notice that my side is 6.5 inches wide and my bottom is 9 inches wide. Okay. Each one of these are a 1/2 inch thick, so if I put a 1/2 inch on each side of these, that overall is 9.5 inches. So what I did is make a rectangle that was a 1/2 inch by 10.5 inches, which is this one here. I put a dividing line right down the middle of it. So I had this piece right here. I took this piece, and I'll get rid of these. I took this piece here, which is one side, and I know that I want 9.5 inches between the center of this side and the center of the other one. So what I did is I went to Array. I want 2 columns, 1 row, and I need these to be 9 inches apart. Okay, so I will take these and I will do X at 9 inches and copy it. As you can see, 9 inches between them. If I got a 1/4 inch into here and a 1/4 inch into there, that's 9.5 inches. So those are my 2 sides. Now I need the stringer that goes between them. So all I did was make a rectangle starting right here and going over to here and up 1 inch or so. So it's 9.5 by 1. Apply. That's my 1 inch stringer. Okay. So the next thing that I want to do is make my dividers. Well, I know my dividers are going to have to be 9.5 inches long, and I want my dividers to go up about 3.5 inches because that's what I made this dimension as. So I make a divider that is 3.5 by, what did I say that it had to be from here to here? 6.5 total width. I come in 1/4 of an inch. That's 6 1/4. So I got to make them 6 1/4 by 3. So I make a rectangle that is 6 1/4 by 3. 3 by 6.25. Did I make that 3? That's 3.5, I'm sorry. 3.5 by 6 1/4. Make my rectangle. Now, there's my rectangle. For my divider, all I have to do is put a slot in it up through the middle. So what do? Is I make a slot out of 1/4 by halfway up of 3 1/2 is how much? 175. Or I can do it the easy way. 3.5 divided by 2 equals 175. Apply that. That's my divider slot. Now I want my divider slot to be in the center. So what do I have to do? I highlight this box, go here, say that I want it centered within that rectangle. And I also want it, the inside edge, to be even. I'm okay. There that is. The only thing I have to do now is get rid of these pieces here, get my scissors out, cut. There's my side. Okay? We can go and check the dimensions. Six 1/4 by 3.5. Looks like what I need for this particular situation. Now, I can go down now, and remember I have this 9 1/2, and I want this to be divided into 3 separate sections. So what do? Take my 1-inch piece by 9 1/2, and I come in here and divide it out by 3. Okay? Now, one thing you have to take in consideration here is this 9 1/2 is not what you're dividing by 3. What you're dividing by 3 is 9 inches. But the easy way to do this is you take and make your 1/4 inch piece, which that's what this is, and paste it at the very end, right here. Okay? Now, if I take this guy and say, I want to make 4 columns, 4 rows in 1 column, and make it 2.85, I think it was, 3. Oh, I put it in the wrong place. Make it 2.83 in the Y direction. I know this is 2.83 because I've already figured it out. But if you don't, let's say you just kind of roughly say, hey, I want to take 9 inches and divide it, or let's see, I take 8 1/2 and divide it by 3. Let's do that here. 8.5 divided by 3 equals 2.83333. Now, why did I use 8 1/2? Well, I already said that this is 9 inches long, or it's 9 1/2 inches long. 1/4 inch off the edge, 1/4 inch off of this edge is 9 inches. 1/4 inch out of these two middles is what? 8 1/2. So I took 8 1/2, 8.5, divided that by 3, said equal. I let the machine do the math. Hit copy. Voila. It's even all the way across. That's all I need. Now, get rid of this one because I don't want that one to be cut. I'll get rid of this one because I don't want it to be cut, and I got the middle two left, and they are equal. Now, since I have all of these dimensions here, my divider is basically this, except it's wider. It's 3.5 inches wide. So what I can do is make a square or rectangle, 3.5 by 9.5. Apply that, and then I can set there and bring this up to the length here. And I can copy these guys. Paste them. I can move them up a little bit. Now I can take my big box and my cut spacers, pull them off to the side, and now all I have to do is make these long enough to what the length I want them. Well, I can come in here, and that one right now is 1/4 by 1.5 inches. Well, 3.5 divided by 2 equals 1.83. So I apply that. Brings it right down to the edge almost. I can do the same thing down here. Come down here, look at the rectangle, and make the width 3.5 divided by 2 equals apply it. There are my two pieces. You just bring them down just a tad to touch. Or actually what we can do, it's easier than that. Come here and highlight both, and then highlight this guy here. We sit there and tell them to go down to the bottom, and it takes them right down. Now all we have to do is come in here and, oops, didn't want to do that. Come and trim the, no, for some reason it's not allowing me to do what I want to do. Let's get in here a little closer. There we go. Okay, now these don't look the same length, do they? Well, that's easy. We'll just bring a line over. Oops, close that out. Let's bring this over a line. But what we're going to do is put it right on the end of this one. Always a way around things. Now I can go into node edit, bring this node down to that line, to the line. Voila, everybody's even again. Just different ways around things. Don't have to fret about it. So we have our stringers made. We have our dividers made. The only thing that we need to do now is make the handle and the bottom. And they're basically rectangles like I said before. Now, let's get rid of all this stuff. Kind of wondering why this is like this. Well, I'll tell you why. Here's our handle. Here's our body. I'm going to move these up to be right over the top of these guys here. Now, here's my handle be cut out. Here is my side. And then if we flip it over, here are the pockets that I have to make for all the pieces to be inserted into when I put it together. So let's start off on the other side. Let's suppose we want to put some kind of writing in here, so we could go to text, sit there and say we'll make it Rick's Tote. Okay. Say okay. We're going to sit there and rotate it 90 degrees. Apply that. Size it to fit. And we can make it exactly in the middle. Because remember, we put everything in the middle. Or we can put it in the middle of this. There we go, we're in the middle. Now, let's go do tool paths. Tool paths on this side are, well, the first thing we probably want to do is do text quick engrave. 90 degree V-carve is fine. We want to go down probably 10 thousandths. Just outline it, calculate it. Okay. The next thing we want to do is cut these guys out, and that is going to be a profile. Name our profile handle and side. Cut depth that we want to go here, since it's a 1/2 inch, we want to go almost a 1/2 inch. I'll put 0.49. We want to use a 1/4 inch end mill. Say okay. We're going to go on the outside, and we're going to add tabs. 1/10 of an inch, 1/2 inch big. I'm going to put 3 on each. Looks good to me. Say okay, and we're ready to rock and roll. So we calculate that. Now let's preview our tool paths. Okay, everybody's done, and we may want to make that text a little bit deeper, but it's okay the way it is. So the next thing we want to do is close out on that. I'm going to flip it over, and we're going to do these pockets. And basically what I did here is copied this over to the other side, and then put the pockets in. And I've already got them figured out. Just successfully redo them. Got the pockets. Oh, I guess not. Let's do this. Handle and side pockets are the one I want. Okay. Here, 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 and here. 1/4 inch. You want to go in, 1/4 inch end mill, calculate. Okay, that's all done. And then our side and back profile. Let's go back to our 2D view. Oh, we don't have to do the profile. The profile's already done. That's for the back and side. I'm getting myself confused. So we cut that. Preview the visible tool path. Go to the 3D view. You will notice now that our pockets are all cut, and our profile is cut with our name on it. That's all there is to it. And you walk through all the files and do exactly the same thing. This is the designing process that I go through. So stay tuned for the next portion of it, is the machining of all these parts when we take all of our tool paths and do the machining. See you then.